What is the scariest thing that you have ever encountered while home alone? I was taking a nap in my apartment under blankets in my bed when I hear the door open. Thinking it's my husband, I ignore it. But about 5 minutes later, I hear several female voices. I'm thinking I'm dreaming, so again, I ignore it. The voices get louder and suddenly my bedroom door opens. I freak out and bolt upright in bed. 3 women were in my apartment, 2 young, 1 older. I shriek. They shriek. They run out of my apartment. It turned out that the management company showed the wrong apartment available for rent that day. I got an apology and a bouquet of flowers. I once went to look at a duplex for rent. The property management company gave me the key and the address and just told me I had to turn in the key by such and such time. I get there, unlock and open the door, and see clothes, furniture, knickknacks etc., and then I hear the click of excited dog feet coming down the stairs. I look over to see a very confused, very large Rottweiler mix. He freezes and starts at me. I freeze and stare at him. My brain finally caught up to the situation and slammed the door shut just as the dog launched himself at me, barking furiously. The landlord meant to give me the key and address for the other half of the duplex. I was maybe 11 or 12 and was home alone one winter day. The desktop computer I was using shared a wall with our unheated garage. The house was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. All of a sudden this boom erupted from the garage that shook the wall. It honestly sounded like a bomb went off. 20 minutes later, after hiding behind the couch and getting my heart rate down, I finally went to inspect. A 2-liter Sprite bottle had frozen and exploded off the shelf. The first night alone at my new house, a dude tried scouting around my home looking for a way in. I flipped on all the lights and ran downstairs as loudly as I could, holding a plastic tomahawk in one hand, and my phone dialing 911 in the other. He never actually got inside the house, but it was terrifying, especially since it was literally my first night of living on my own. I had a massive tub of Lego fall over while I was eating downstairs. I kid you not, it sounded like somebody went through the window. I was frozen on the spot, thinking I was going to be killed or kidnapped or something. An hour and a bit passed and I thought they must have left. I slowly went around the house looking for evidence of a break-in. Then I saw the Lego all over the floor. Was in the shower when I heard the door to my apartment being unlocked. Husband wasn't due back for several hours. Turns out it was the skeevy-ass building manager snooping around people's apartments when he thought they were not home. Reported him to the company that owned the building, but nothing ever came of it. Moved out shortly after. Growing up, we had large old mirror with a thick wood frame leaning against the wall in our hallway. I was doing some homework in the kitchen but got up to get something from the living room. The hallway is the connecting room between the two. So I passed through it, picked up whatever I needed in the living room, turned around and was on my way back, and that old mirror is broken on the floor. It's shattered. Pieces everywhere. As if it had exploded. It was completely fine when I passed it just seconds before. I didn't hear it break. I just kind of walked by it and headed out the kitchen door. Scared the shit out of me. I was at a friend's house, watching her cats, and suddenly someone stood on the balcony, right when I walked down the hallway. I stopped dead and stood frozen for minutes, heartbeat up in my throat. Turns out it was my reflection. Took me solid 10 minutes. I was babysitting my little sister. We were both watching television. All of a sudden I hear gunshots and bullets ricocheting from the window security bars. A moment later I hear moaning and screams coming from my front door. It was a drive-by shooting. 3 teenagers were shot up and managed to crawl to my door seeking help. As a 14-year-old at the time, it was something I was definitely not prepared to handle. Just moved into our brand new home. My husband goes out to pick up dinner. I'm just setting up our TV and all of a sudden a man comes down the flipping stairs. I scream at the top of my lungs and run for the front door. He screams at the same time. Thankfully the neighbors next door were outside. I squeak out that there's a strange man in my house. He comes out of my house and turns out he works for the development, and had been fixing the upstairs bathroom. My husband forgot to tell me he was there. I was home alone since my husband was away on deployment. One night as I was falling asleep, both my dog and I heard someone on the porch walking around. My dog flipped out and I decided to go downstairs. I grabbed my gun out of the safe and headed downstairs. About 2/3 of the way down I saw the man through the front door windows. We locked eyes and he said, "Let me in." I told him that he needed to leave. Again, "Let me in." I told him he needed to leave and that I was calling the cops. "Let me in." I told him I that had a gun. "So do I," and he lifted up a gun and aimed it at me. I fired my gun through the window but missed him. He ran off. The cops found him a few blocks from my house a little bit later. His gun ended up not being loaded. Still, most terrifying shit ever. One day my mom left the house and the TV was not working, so I went upstairs to play with my Legos, and a car ran into the backyard fence. A wooden pole flew into the window that was right next to the couch where we used to watch TV, and all the glass fell onto the couch and floor. The apartment above mine caught fire. I thought the fire alarm was just a test until I heard something explode directly above me. I grabbed my cat and bolted down 11 flights of stairs to see flames bursting 10 feet out of the balcony above my unit. I woke up one morning to a guy staring into my window right at me. I jumped up, of course, ran to the kitchen, grabbed a knife, and went to confront the guy. I found out that there was going to be a house remodeled across the street and he had came to the wrong house. He apologized profusely and a co-worker of his yelled out, "Hey, over here you idiot." So that turned from terror into comedy. I also have sensor lights in my hallway. I was sitting one time, felt a really cold sensation, so I turned around. The sensor lights were turning on one by one as if somebody was walking towards me. It was scary, but I don't really believe in ghosts and I didn't see anybody coming, so I just brushed it off as a malfunction. Had sleep paralysis for the first time home alone when I was like 15. Scary as fuck. I was homesick and I thought I heard a little girl call my name, then I couldn't move and my jaw was opening but I couldn't shut it. Then boom, I'm moving again. Couldn't understand what had just happened and I thought ghosts could be real until I learned what sleep paralysis was. Had it twice now. I live alone and I once swallowed a piece of food that got stuck and I almost choked. I was able to cough hard and blow it out, but it reminded me of the danger of living alone. I was 15 years old, home alone, when I very clearly heard the sound of a child laughing and running on a hard-surfaced floor through the house. One-story house, all floors, even the kitchen area, were carpeted. When I was 14, my parents left me alone to go to dinner with my uncle and his new girlfriend, and like 2 hours in, all 3 of my dogs that were lying beside me jumped up and, staring at the window out to the front yard, started growling. So like any sensible redneck, I grabbed a shotgun from my dad's gun cabinet, put my dogs on leashes and walked outside the back door. I rounded the corner to the front yard, my dogs almost tripping the leashes from my hand, snarling to a man in a clown costume with his hands up screaming, "I'm sorry, it was just a prank bro, don't kill me."